Hey guys, so after a successful last round at the rally sprint, we've got a few upgrades to take place on the Golf, one of which is a new set of coilovers. So we're going to whack some BCs in this video, but first we're going to give it a bit of a bath, because being on the trailer and sort of travelling 3 hours each direction to go down to Sydney for the event, it's got a few insects and stuff all over it. So we'll give it a bit of a tidy up and we'll go from there. At the rally sprint, we noticed a few dramas with the car that we needed to rectify before the next one. So something that we want to do is whack some coilovers in. We're going to put some adjustable lower ball joints in and also change the control arm bushes. So I'll explain to you throughout the video whilst we're undergoing some time lapse on those changes as to why we're doing that, and we'll cover the tyres and what we're seeing from the tyres and what's telling us that we need to go this direction instead of using standard shocks or standard alignment settings that we can adjust with the factory options. So we'll get cracking.
So one of the things that we found at the last round of the sprint series was after the Bathurst Light Car Club event, the car in the first couple of runs was extremely rolly. It was pitching a lot more than it was the first round that we'd completed, and we're noticing that it was tending to act more towards understeer, almost like it had too much rear grip, and it was unable to overcome that, whereas at previous rounds it had been able to be overcome. So what we're seeing from the tyres as well is that our wheel alignment wasn't doing the job properly, so we're rolling over on the edge of the tyre, demonstrating that we don't have sufficient camber on board. So it was tearing the edges out of our tyres. Given that the Z221s aren't a cheap bit of kit, it was quite advised to start cranking some camber in. So the BCs will achieve that for us, and also the adjustable lower ball joints. So I'll let you continue watching for a bit, and we'll be back with you in a moment.
While we're pulling the drive shaft out to replace the shocks, we notice that this one has a split boot right there. So fortunately, rather than just replacing the boot, which is the cheapest way to go, there's nothing wrong with this shaft. I have another one here out of edition 35 that I racked the other week. So we'll throw that in. It's only got 135,000 Ks on it, and there was no issues with that. So we'll whack that into the car. That'll get us out of trouble.
I don't mean to bring back to the time lapse, but in this shot you can see me just popping the new drive shaft back in, making sure that it's located and bolted down so it's nice and tight. We're also just making sure that the drop links are correct, and also that the strut is tight within the knuckle. So we're also popping in the adjustable lower ball joint, making sure that that's all seated successfully, and tightening that down. So as you can see, we're just popping that drop link in. That's actually included from BC. I believe it's actually shortened compared to the factory one. So next up, we will be jumping onto the rear of the car. So on the rear of the car, this is quite a simple swap. There's only a couple of bolts, front and rear. We ended up reusing the existing top hat. So as you can see, we're just applying that to the BC. We can get to our adjuster, apply that there on the bottom, bolt it in, pull our spring. There's a couple of spring seats there. We also use the spring seat adjuster for a little bit of extra length.
Alright, we've got all the old gear out of the car, so this is kind of the accumulated parts of what we've removed. So the BC Coilovers come with sway bar drop links. As you can see there, the old ones are okay condition, so we'll keep them aside as spares just in case, but they're a little bit longer than the BC ones that are included. We popped the new bushes in, that went well. New ball joints in, that went well. The ball joints are also in reasonable nick. However, when you start looking at these shocks, you can see that they've seen better days. The inside of these is completely coated with something. I don't believe it's water, so I think those shocks have actually failed. The rears, you can see the bump stops there have seen much better days, so it was about time that we replaced it. I swapped that drive shaft out because that boot had failed, as you can see. just this inner edge. That would let all of the grease out and also allow water in. Our control arm bushers, I don't know if you can see it there, but control arm bushers have some slight cracking in it, which is allowing them to be far more flexible than what they should be. Both of them are seeing that. So, and when we're trying to pull the other side's drive shaft out, our 1/2-inch breaker bar decided that it was going to go to heaven. Unfortunately, it was way too tight. We used the thunder gun to try and undo it, still no joy. We ended up at a 3/4 inch breaker bar to pop it out. So as you can see, it was a rather messy job doing this, but I think we can call it a success. The car is ready as far as suspension is concerned to go to the next round of the Sprint Series. We'll get it well aligned, maybe crank the back a little bit up a bit more. As it sits at the moment, we're going to set the front shocks halfway through their potential bump and rebound options. So we'll get that set before the event as well. As it sits, the rear is as stiff as we can get it because we're compensating given that we've got the same spring rate front and rear. Ordinarily, I like to have a couple of kilo difference front to rear, usually higher in the rear. It'll assist with rotation. The next thing we're going to be fighting is probably the wheel spin issue that we've been suffering from anyway. So hopefully the shocks make a little bit of a difference in pace. It'll definitely be better matched with the tyres that we're running. And yeah, we'll get those seats installed now. This morning we're going to be popping in a couple of Sparco seats ahead of the next Sprint Series round. With the coilover install, we expect that the stock seats weren't going to hold up to holding us in the car properly. So what we'll do are these. So we've got the original seat on the right, that's a driver's seat, and I've got a couple of Sparco Pro2000s that I've been using as passenger seats in our other cars. So I've just whipped them out because we've been previously doing the Sprint Series with those race cars, so these aren't required as it sits at the minute. So what we'll be doing is we've just been marking up some lengths and whatnot, creating a bit of a cutting list for our seat brackets. We've got some nice steel there that we can basically create our seat bracket to mount to the stock locations, and we'll get cracking on basically designing up the seat brackets and seeing how we go. So we've previously done this isn't a first for us, so should go in nicely. And we'll also be using the stock seatbelt brackets. So the ones on the side of these actually unbolt. So rather than using harnesses because we don't have a roll cage in this car, we will use the stock seatbelts instead. Now we've got the pieces cut, what we do is we lay them in basically across the hole spacing there, and we just mark up on the piece where the holes need to go, and we just need to check the distance between our seat brackets so that we make sure that we get them the right size. And then once we've got that and we're happy with where it's going to be sitting, we'll end up cutting a piece to mount our seat to. Hey guys, so we've got the Sparcos in. We've used the stock belts back to the standard locations. We've made a custom bracket to mount these seats. Beautiful seating position, not too low, not too high. Our fire extinguisher bracket works beautifully, so it should be good to go for the next Sprint Series. So a little bit exciting. Hopefully these hold us in a little bit better, and yeah, we'll have to tweak the seating position a little bit just as we go and see if we like it or whether we need to raise or lower the front or the rear. And yeah, same with the setup on the BC. So alright, next video out you'll see us at the Sprint Series, and look forward to it. See you then.